When a new teacher arrived, we discovered dark secrets in classrooms at midnight. Forever the clock struck midnight, and the halls of Milford High creaked under the weight of dark secrets. Whispers echoed like a chilling breeze, tickling the back of every student's neck, a magnetic pull towards the unknown. When Mr. Grayson, the new science teacher, stepped into our lives, something shifted. He wore thick glasses that magnified eyes too wide for comfort and a smile that flickered like a faulty light bulb. Kids said he came from a small town nobody ever heard of. Why was he really here? Every Friday, the school buzzed with tales of strange noises after hours, soft thuds, rustling papers, and odd, distant laughter. Rumors swirled about the old gym. Locals claimed it was haunted. I could feel a knot in my stomach when my friend Tara insisted they had seen shadows moving against the flickering gym windows. That twinge of fear gripped us all tighter than the rickety lockers that lined the corridors. Then, on a rainy Thursday, everything took a turn. Mr. Grayson announced optional extra credit sessions, at midnight. I can't lie, curiosity won. I wanted to unravel what really went on when the sun dipped below the horizon. A group of us gathered under the dim light of a flickering lamp, hearts racing, pulses quickening. The air tasted like iron, heavy with unspoken tension. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. We stepped into the gym, trepidation spilling over each surface. The smell of sweat mingled with something else, something metallic. Shadows danced across the walls as we crossed the threshold. Mr. Grayson stood in the center, a silhouette against the flickering lights. His voice cut through our silence, grave and commanding. Tonight, you will witness something extraordinary. We exchanged uneasy glances as his words hung in the air, promising dark discoveries that might change us forever. What were we about to uncover? As the darkness enveloped us, I could feel it creeping into my bones. The chill pressed against my chest, my breath hitching as anticipation coiled tighter inside. And then, the laughter returned, louder this time. We weren't alone. The laughter echoed, twisting through the gym like a serpent eager to pounce. We froze in our tracks, hearts thundering in synchrony, and all I could think about was running. But curiosity, that wild force, pinned me to the spot. Mr. Grayson's eyes reflected the dim light, gleaming with an excitement that didn't match the fear bubbling inside us. Do you hear that? Tara hissed, gripping my arm. I could feel her fingers digging in, but all I could do was nod. The sound was unmistakable, a chorus of eerie giggles swirling around us. My stomach churned, a heavy weight pressing down on my chest. We exchanged glances, each of us silently debating whether to bolt or stay. Tonight, Mr. Grayson continued, you'll see the power of science in ways you never imagined. Trust the process. His fervor was unsettling. It was as if we stood on the precipice of some wild experiment. But what kind? A shiver slid down my spine. He gestured for us to gather closer, and we obeyed, instinctually drawn into a strange orbit around him. Tonight's lesson is not about the bones or the chemicals. Tonight, we delve into the unknown. Ghosts are simply stories, right? I'm going to show you their reality. The hairs on the back of my neck stood at attention. What does he mean? I whispered to Tara, who looked just as bewildered. As he spoke, the air thickened. It felt charged, electric. Then, suddenly, the lights flickered and dimmed, plunging us into a near-complete darkness. My heart raced. The shadows felt alive, swirling closer. A faint light appeared in the corner of the gym. I squinted, my breath shallow. Just an illusion. Mr. Grayson waved his hand dismissively, a hint of a smile still shadowing his lips. Look beyond what you see. I want you to feel, to communicate. Before I could process his words, a bright flash momentarily illuminated the room. I caught sight of something out of the corner of my eye, an outline of a figure. My pulse quickened. It was a shadow but sharper than the rest, more defined. My mind was racing. Was this part of his demonstration? Or were we truly stepping into something dark? Focus. He commanded, his voice slicing through the thick tension. The experiments can only succeed if we believe. Let your fear go. The laughter swelled again, teasing us, growing louder. Some of the other students were backing away, fear flickering in their eyes. I could feel the weight of their apprehension, a collective energy pushing against Mr. Grayson's strange charisma. This wasn't right. Whatever he was pulling us into felt dangerously close to the edge of something we weren't prepared for. Then came the unmistakable sound of whispering, urgent, frantic whispers swirling around us, creeping into our ears. What is happening? I gasped as the gym door suddenly slammed shut, trapping us inside. Listen. Mr. Grayson urged, this is the start of your journey. But all I could hear was my pulse pounding in my ears and the whispers crescendoing, drowning out rational thought. Something deep within me screamed to run, but where? The only way out was blocked. The path back was a memory. A shadow flickered closer, almost tangible, and my eyes widened in horror. I realized, as panic surged through me, that we had crossed a point of no return. What had we succumbed to? What awaited us in the darkness? As I looked into the depths of Mr. Grayson's wide, unsettling eyes, the laughter peaked in volume and then transformed into an echoing scream that chilled my very soul. It's just beginning, Mr. Grayson whispered, grinning wider. And in that moment, I understood whatever we had unleashed would change everything. What awaited us beyond the veil of darkness? The shadows pulsed around us, alive with whispers that twisted my stomach in tight knots. I could barely breathe as the laughter turned into something more sinister, wrapping around us like a thick fog. I felt Tara's grip loosen as fright took hold of her, the uncertainty dancing in her eyes almost palpable. What do we do? She barely managed to say, her voice trembling. Panic inched its way up my spine. I stammered, but the words died in my throat. Mr. Grayson's voice rose above the chaos, a commanding presence grounding us. I told you to let go of your fear. This is a celebration of the unknown. The manic energy in his eyes glimmered brighter than before, igniting a strange, unsettling confidence in him. Suddenly, the ambient whispers broke into a chaotic cacophony. It sounded like voices layered on one another, all demanding to be heard. I squinted into the darkness, trying to decipher the shadows that danced in front of me. Then, without warning, the faint light from earlier flickered again, illuminating a twisted corner of the gym. There, I saw the outline of a figure. It looked familiar. I gasped. Is that? No, Tara whispered back, her breath hitching. It can't be. But the resemblance was uncanny, the silhouette tethering me to memories I wished to forget. The laughter morphed around us, becoming mocking and sinister. It was too much, my heart thudded beneath my ribs, each beat echoing the dread that bled into my thoughts. Mr. Grayson didn't waver. This is your invitation. Step into the unknown, embrace your fears. He took a step toward the flickering light, reaching for the figure. Wait! I shouted, jerked by a sudden feeling that surged through me. A need to stop whatever this was before it spiraled out of control. But it was too late. The figure in the shadow stepped forward, illuminated for just a heartbeat. I saw it clearly, a face contorted in anguish. I stifled a scream, my chest constricting painfully as I recognized the haunted expression. The air crackled with tension, and the laughter gave way to gasping silence as if the gym held its breath. Do you see? Fear gives life to the darkness, Mr. Grayson exclaimed, his voice rising again, manic with thrill. Welcome to your lesson. The figure lunged forward, a distorted scream ripping through the air. The shadows exploded around us, momentarily blinding me. I stumbled back, colliding into Tara, her scream mingling with the chaos. The walls of the gym twisted and warped, and I was pulled into a whirlwind of confusion and terror. The whispers morphed again, grew angrier, more urgent, drowning out any sense of reality. "Get out!" I screamed for the others, desperately trying to pull them with me toward the door, but it was like pushing against a brick wall. "Stay together!" Mr. Grayson shouted, but his voice was now swallowed by the din. The energy swirled around us, thick like molasses, heavy and suffocating. Someone stumbled, and I turned just in time to see a fellow student go down. A flash of cold terror gripped me as I realized what it meant. My own legs trembled, uncertain if they could hold any weight. We had awakened something by being here, something dark that thrived on fear. The gym transformed, and so did we, shedding our normal selves, replaced by fear-fueled shadows. "Enough!" I yelled, the word ripping through the air. It felt weak against the overwhelming chaos swirling around us. But there was no way back now, we were caught in the web of the unknown. The lights flickered again, and as it settled, an unsettling calm washed over the room. "Did we make it?" Tara whispered, her voice shaking but hopeful, but the smile on Mr. Grayson's face was chilling. You haven't even scratched the surface yet. His words stirred a sense of foreboding deep in my gut. How much deeper did we have to go? What lay ahead in the thickening darkness? The door shuttered behind us, and I turned back to it just as I felt a chill creep down my spine. We weren't safe. Not by a long shot. What would be waiting for us in the depths of our own dread? The gym was a mixture of confusion and still air. The shadows seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting like something alive. A sense of dread settled heavily on my shoulders, pressing down, weighing me in place. Tara's wide eyes searched mine, flickering between hope and the abyss of terror. "Let us leave," I suggested, voice barely above a whisper. But the door was still there, looming like a predator, reinforced by the very fear that had engulfed us. Where would we even go? Tara shot back, her voice laced with panic. "We can't escape this, whatever it is." Mr. Grayson stood at the center, almost gleeful in his madness. "Welcome to the lesson of your lives, students," he said, drawing us back with his sickening glee. "Nothing can protect you from what you truly fear. You are free now, free to confront it." With a flourish, he gestured toward the flickering shadows. They swirled with a new fervor, and I could swear I heard my name whispered among the phantoms. The voice was familiar, taunting me, pulling at memories I had fought hard to bury. My heart raced, the figure's anguished face lingered in my mind, echoing my past. Suddenly, a shriek pierced through the air from the shadows. A girl from our group, Maria, staggered backward, clutching her head as if trying to shut out the noise. "It's too much. Get away!" she shouted, her eyes rolling back in fear. "Focus on each other," I yelled, grabbing Tara's arm, trying to center my thoughts. "We can't let them take us. Stay together." But as I looked around, it was clear not everyone was able to fight the whispers. Students were breaking apart, falling into the darkness like moths drawn to a flame. "Mr. Grayson," I shouted, desperation filling my voice. "You have to stop this." His smile grew, eyes dancing. "Stop. This is just the beginning. You're starting to understand the power of fear. Shapes in the dark become familiar when you embrace them." His eyes glinted with something unholy, something I had never seen in a teacher before. The shadows erupted. A dark shape materialized in the center of the gym, a featureless form coalescing with the laughter. Everyone was screaming now, the sound ricocheting off the walls like a war cry gone awry. Tara grabbed my shirt. "We need to find a way out. Now." Together, we pushed forward, but the floor felt like it was melting under our feet, turning to quicksand, every step threatening to pull us in deeper. We were losing our grip on each other. Then, amidst the chaos, I spotted something in the corner of my eye, a door I had never seen before, hidden in the shadows. A faint, warm light flickered beneath it, dancing like a beacon in the storm of darkness. "Over there!" I shouted, pointing, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. As we sprinted towards it, clarity blitzed through my mind. If we could reach that door, perhaps it offered a way out or a chance to confront what lay beyond, but just then, the figure in the gym lunged forward again, screaming something unintelligible, and everything spun into a blinding whirlwind. I lost grip of Tara's hand, her voice disappearing under a wave of noise and chaos. "No!" I screamed, my voice swallowed by the shadows, and I felt myself being pulled back into the void. A flash of light cut through the darkness, approaching fast, and I could hear distorted echoes of laughter and screams turn into something more sinister. Everything stood still for a moment, then, just like that, the room plunged into darkness once more, leaving me in the abyss. Was I truly alone now? What if the doorway was a trap? Another layer of darkness? I couldn't think. The pulse of dread began again, pressing against my chest as I took a step into the unending night. What awaited me if I moved forward? Would I find Tara? Or would I succumb to the horrors lurking in the shadows? My breath hitched in the silence, echoing in the emptiness that surrounded me. I squinted into the darkness. The air felt thick, oppressive, stifling. Just behind me, I could sense the shadows shifting, twisting into sinister forms. I took a trembling step forward, the sudden rush of courage mixed with the gnawing fear that I might vanish completely. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice trembling. The darkness answered with a haunting stillness. Suddenly, the warmth of the flickering light beneath the mysterious door beckoned me like a siren. I steeled myself and pressed onward, ignoring the gnawing doubt that threatened to paralyze me. It felt like a gravity well, drawing me closer, fueling the hope that was almost drowned out by the chaos moments before. "Come on," I whispered urgently to myself. "You can do this." With each step, the feeling of being watched grew stronger. I spun around, scanning the murky gloom. I was convinced the shadows were reaching out, clawing at my thoughts. Something lurked just beyond the edges of light, echoes of laughter, sadistic whispers promising torment. My fingers brushed against the door. It was cold, solid. I closed my eyes for a split second, breathing deeply. If this was a trap, I had to be wary. I pushed the door open. The light was brighter than I expected, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling downward. Each step creaked under my weight, warning me to turn back. But I needed to know what lay below. It felt like I had entered another world, separate from the chaos that had consumed the GYM. As I descended, I could hear voices. Not distant echoes, but intimate, pleading, familiar. The hairs on my neck stood on end. I pushed onward, drawn by the urgency of recognition. "Please. No. Don't do this." A voice cried out, "Maria." My heart sank. Had they dragged her down here too? I reached the bottom of the stairs, propelled by adrenaline. The scene unfolded abruptly before me, dimly lit by flickering bulbs. The room looked like an abandoned classroom, yet it felt alive. Desks were strewn haphazardly, chairs overturned. The walls seemed to pulse, decorated with shadows, dark shapes whispering secrets of the past. "Maria!" I shouted, stepping into the fray. She was huddled in the corner, eyes wild and unfocused, as if trapped in a nightmare. I rushed to her, grabbing her shoulders. "Maria, it's me. We need to get out of here." Her gaze locked on mine, but it was distant. "You don't understand. They're all they want to let us go," she shivered, glancing around as if watching for something. My heart raced. "Who won't let us go? What do you mean?" Just then, the shadows collided together, reshaping into a more defined figure, towering over us. It was Mr. Grayson, his expression twisted into a sick smile. "Ah. Here you are. I was just getting started." He took a step forward, and the shadows obeyed, swirling around him like a cloak. "You see, students, this is where your fears take form. A delightful experience, yes. You will learn that the only way to escape is by facing what you dread. Get back! I shouted, instinctively pulling Maria to her feet. She stumbled, still dazed, but the urgency in my voice seemed to pierce through her fog. We turned to run, but the shadows moved quicker, blocking our path. Mr. Grayson's laughter echoed, filling the room with dread. Going somewhere? The real lesson has just begun. I felt the weight of fear pressing down harder, choking me, drowning out all rational thought. Could we defeat whatever malevolence Mr. Grayson had unleashed? The sounds of Maria's panicked breaths filled my ears as I frantically searched for an escape. A new sense of urgency coursed through me, magnifying with every heartbeat. Split up! I yelled at Maria. We have to find another way out. But as I glanced back, Mr. Grayson's form loomed closer, a predator circling its prey. Remember, he sneered, fear has a way of finding you. You can't hide, you can only embrace it. With a jolt, I dashed toward a cracked wall, hoping it concealed a way out. But could we outrun our fears, or would they finally catch us? The question hung thick in the air, pressing against me as I thrust myself into the unknown. What horrors awaited me on the other side? The moment I collided with the cracked wall, a burst of adrenaline surged through me. I was determined to find a way out, but my hope quickly teetered on the edge as I pressed against the cold surface. It felt like it might give, but I hesitated, glancing over my shoulder to see Mr. Grayson advancing, the shadows spooling around him, morphing into terrifying forms. Maria! I shouted again, but the only response was her stunted breaths, a mix of despair and fear. In that instant, the wall shifted beneath my hands, revealing a narrow opening. Come on! I urged, pulling back just enough to yank Maria toward the light. She stumbled behind me, her eyes darting around as if she could feel the shadows closing in. We squeezed through the gap, my heart hammering loudly in my chest. The passageway was cramped and dark, the air stale. We crawled, desperate for distance from the horror we had left behind. The dim light at the end teased me, flickering like a will-o'-the-wisp, promising safety with each inch closer, but the sound of Mr. Grayson's laughter echoed behind us, a chilling reminder of the monster chasing us. You can't escape your fears. They're part of you now, he taunted. I pressed onward, pushing through the rough stone, ignoring the scratches against my skin. When we finally burst into a small room, we both gasped. It was another classroom, but this one was eerily pristine, untouched by the decay of the chaos we had left. Desks were arranged neatly, chalkboards immaculate, as if frozen in time. But the stillness felt wrong, an unsettling calm after the storm. Where are we? Maria's voice trembled, echoing off the walls. Ignoring her question, I scanned the room. My eyes landed on a door at the far end, slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness waiting to be explored. We have to keep moving, I said, pulling her along. Each step felt heavy, laden with anticipation and dread. The door creaked open, revealing a long corridor. It seemed endless, but I could feel something lurking, an energy curling in the air like smoke. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I couldn't leave Maria behind. Stay close, I urged, tugging her along. As we moved deeper into the building, the temperature dropped, the air growing thicker. Faint whispers danced around us, unintelligible yet filled with an unsettling familiarity. It was like walking through a graveyard of memories, each one echoing the fears I had buried long ago. Suddenly, a door slammed shut behind us. Maria jumped, and I fought to suppress my rising panic. We were trapped again, and the corridor felt like it was shrinking. Shadows began creeping along the walls, their whispers morphing into chilling laughter. Fears take form, remember? Mr. Grayson's voice rang out, slicing through the room like a knife. This is just the beginning. They'll have their way with you, just like they did with me. Shut up! I shouted, clenching my fists. You're not real. But a shiver ran through me as I glanced at Maria. She looked paler, her eyes wide with terror as shadows coiled around her, tugging at her like invisible hands. Anxiety twisted in my chest. Maria, I stammered, reaching for her. But the darkness bloomed, expanding like an ocean, swallowing my voice. I felt it all collapsing around us. The room pulsed, walls vibrating with an unholy energy. Ignoring the fear that gripped my heart, I pulled Maria closer, determined to confront whatever nightmare awaited us. "What do we do?" she gasped, fear lacing her voice. "We face it. Together," I cried, my resolve hardening. We could not give in to the shadows. With everything in me, I took a step forward, racing toward the swirling darkness, my heart pounding in anticipation, knowing that confronting our fears could be our only hope. Would we be consumed, or could we finally break free? As I braced for whatever lay ahead, a piercing scream ripped through the corridor, leaving us both frozen in horror. What if we weren't alone? What if something darker awaited us in the heart of fear? The darkness twisted and writhed around us, almost alive, and that piercing scream, a sound so full of despair and terror, sliced through my mind like glass. I was paralyzed for a heartbeat, anxiety gripping my throat, but then adrenaline kicked in again. We had to move. "Maria, we need to go now," I urged, my voice urgent and raw. I pulled her with me, not daring to look back as shadows converged like predators, creeping along the walls and drawing closer. We stepped deeper into the unknown corridor, my pulse racing, breath quickening. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of distorted voices merging and twisting into something grotesque. Each word seemed to claw at my mind, dredging up memories I'd rather leave buried. Why was this happening? What did Mr. Grayson want from us? These questions fought for space in my brain as we pressed on through the smothering gloom. Suddenly, flickering lights overhead illuminated a series of framed photographs lining the wall, students' faces, eyes gazing back at us with a multitude of emotions: fear, sorrow, loss. Each image felt like a story trapped in time, shadows lurking at the peripheries, softly exhaling malice. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't tear myself from them. "Do you see that?" I whispered, my voice barely a breath. Maria nodded, her gaze fixed on a particularly sinister photo where a girl stood smiling, but behind her was a shadowy figure that seemed to loom larger with each passing moment. "It's like they're all screaming," Maria's voice trembled. Her breathing quickened. I could see her mind racing, matching my own panic as we fought to keep our composure. "I can't take this," she whispered, her words cracking like glass. "Just keep moving," I insisted, gripping her hand tighter. But as we ventured further, the air thickened with dread. The shadows surged, swirling around us like a storm, writhing and reaching as if trying to pull us back. I could almost feel their cold fingers grazing my skin. Just as we turned a corner, I was struck by a blinding light ahead. A classroom door stood wide open, glowing with an almost ethereal luminescence. Hope sparked within me. "There. We can escape." I pulled Maria toward the door, but a sudden gust of wind slammed it shut just as we reached it. The brilliant light flickered and died, plunging us back into the oppressive dark. "No!" I screamed, pounding on the door. "Let us out. You shouldn't have come here." Mr. Grayson's voice echoed, deep and mocking. The laughter that followed sent chills down my spine. The room felt alive, closing in around us, shadows stretching, pulsing as if attached to some dark consciousness. "Why won't you just let us go?" I shouted into the void, anger bubbling beneath the surface. The only answer was the sound of echoing laughter, mingled with faint cries that made my insides churn. These voices, they felt familiar, and dread clawed at my heart. Maria grasped my arm, her eyes wide in horror. "They're not all gone," she breathed. "They're still here, trapped like us." A wave of nausea crashed over me as realization hit hard. The darkness didn't want us to escape. It wanted us to join them. The floor beneath us trembled, and I stumbled, trying to maintain my balance. The walls felt as though they were closing in, the whispers rising to a fanatical crescendo. I could almost hear each panic-fueled heartbeat thumping in the air. "Face your fears," Mr. Grayson shouted, and the shadows intensified, swirling into forms I dreaded most, my failures, my insecurities all coming to life, taunting me. Everything I had run from was here, seeking to claim me. Maria. I choked out. We can't let them in. But before I could grab her, the shadows surged back, a tide of darkness crashing against us. The weight of dread was suffocating as I struggled to breathe, feeling fear clawing at my mind. With every ounce of strength I had left, I shouted, "We can fight this." But in that moment, I felt the energy shift. Someone stirred in the shadows. Was there still hope, or were we truly lost to the darkness? As the first wave of shadows immersed us, I could barely hear Maria's trembling voice, "What if there's no way out?" And then everything went dark. A cold wash of silence enveloped us as the darkness consumed everything. My senses were bombarded, the air thickening like molasses around me. I struggled to move, but it felt like swimming through liquid dread. I squeezed my eyes shut, desperate to shut out the panic that clawed at my insides. "Maria?" My voice was barely a whisper, trembling as it fought to be heard. I felt the specter of fear wrap tighter around me, squeezing until I could barely breathe. "Are you there?" "Right here," she replied, her voice a fragile thread in the void. "I don't know what is happening, I can't see anything." "Stay close." I reached out blindly, searching for her hand, and when I felt her fingers intertwine with mine, it felt like an anchor in a storm. The silence fractured suddenly, replaced by the cacophony of whispers. They danced around us, a swirling tempest of sound that pressed heavily against my mind. Each murmur felt personal, laced with anger and despair, as if the shadows were taunting our deepest fears that I tried to think, to push against the rising tide of panic. "What does he want from us?" I asked, though part of me dreaded the answer. To my shock, the darkness responded. "You are here and here you'll remain," it echoed, a chorus woven from the cries of lost souls. It sent a shiver down my spine, tightening the knot of dread in my chest. "Join us," it beckoned, the voices harmonizing, creating a haunting melody. "Embrace what you fear." A flash of boldness surged through me. "We want tea," I shouted. "We're not afraid." But even as I said it, doubt gnawed at me. Could we truly fight back against something so all-consuming? "Face your fears," Mr. Grayson's laughter reverberated, laden with mockery. The shadows thickened around us, and I felt my heart racing. My own insecurities came alive in cobwebbed corners of my mind. Each memory morphed into apparitions, looming and jeering. "Focus. We can't let them in," I yelled, gripping Maria's hand with ferocity. But the walls of darkness pulsed, quivering with power. I could feel its hunger, an insatiable urge to envelop us wholly. And then came a sudden, blinding light, just a flicker at first, then flaring into brilliance. The shadows recoiled, hissing like agitated serpents retreating from sunlight. I squinted against the glaring brightness, desperately searching for the source, adrenaline shooting through my veins. Through the haze, I spotted something, a figure. "Maria, look!" I gasped, pointing. "Someone's there." The figure was draped in a cloak of shimmering light, their face obscured. "I can help you," they said, their voice a steady calm amidst the chaos. "But you must trust me." But I hesitated. Trust was a fragile thing in a place swirling with deception. "Who are you?" I demanded, a protective instinct tightening my chest. "I'm a guide," they replied, stepping forward, the darkness flickering and distorting around them like a frenetic predator. "You've been drawn here for a purpose. To break the cycle." "What do you mean?" Maria interjected, her voice straining in the tension. "You're more than what you fear," the figure said, sounding sure. "Many others have tried and failed, but you have a chance." Before I could respond, the darkness roared back, the whispers crescendoing into a frenzied shout. "You cannot escape. You belong to us." The light faltered, and I felt a creeping terror claw at my spine. Could we truly trust the figure? Or would this be another trap, sinking us deeper into despair? "Choose," they urged, but as their light flickered again, shadows lunged toward us, hungry and relentless. In that moment, the walls trembled, and the corridor began to dissolve. We were losing our footing, balance tipping on the edge of choice. What would it take to escape this nightmare? Before I could process the turmoil, we were ripped from the light, engulfed by shadows, once more the darkness tightening its grip, threatening to swallow us whole. "Maria, hold on." But as I felt her presence slipping away, a new horror gripped my throat. Would we ever find our way out? The darkness closed in again, and desperation loomed large as we faced the unknown. Would our fight against the abyss lead us to freedom, or deeper into its grasp? I fought to ground myself in the chaos swirling around us. Panic clawed at my throat as darkness threatened to engulf every shred of hope. I squeezed Maria's hand harder, feeling the tremors in her fingers, and braced myself against the rising tide of despair. "Don't let go," I shouted, my voice strained and raw, but the shadows seemed to ripple and breathe, a living thing intent on devouring our resolve. "You will never escape," the voice taunted, more desperate than before. It was as if the darkness relished our fear, feeding off it. "Please." Maria's voice cracked, fear seeping into her words. "Do something. Look at the light," I urged, trying to focus on the figure, the beacon amidst the chaos. "They said they can help." But even as I spoke, my heart sank. What did I know about this guide? Was trust worth the risk? The darkness hissed, swirling closer, wrapping around my mind like a suffocating blanket. It urged me to yield, to believe in its twisted promise of comfort. "Join us," it whispered, twisting my memories into grotesque forms, echoes of moments I'd rather forget. Shadows of my childhood insecurities loomed large, mocking me with past failures. I could feel the cold grip of despair tightening around my chest, stealing my breath. "Focus," I yelled, shaking my head, trying to dispel the wraiths clawing at my thoughts. "We can't let them in." Maria's grip began to falter, and I felt sheer panic shoot through me. "Stay with me. Don't let them break you." Choose. The light flickered again, illuminating the space just enough to glimpse the guide's form shimmering in the distance. Anxiety blazed in my chest, the darkness roared louder, almost deafening, "You cannot run. You cannot hide." It was a battle I'd never wanted, yet here I was a soldier in my own war against shadow and fear. My mind raced. I couldn't afford to falter. "Maria!" I shouted again, desperation surging in my voice. "We need to fight it together. Trust the light." With a sudden surge of will, I pulled her close, blocking out the noise, shutting my eyes against the chaos. "We are more than what we fear. We can break this. Trust me." A heartbeat passed, and suddenly, the oppressive weight of the darkness shifted. I felt a new force pushing against the shadows, a solid pressure against my back. "Find your courage," the figure called out, its voice now vibrant and alive. In that moment, I caught a glimmer of something in Maria's eyes, a flicker of defiance. "You're right," she exclaimed, her voice steadier. "We are stronger than this." With a unified shout, we focused on the light, our hands clasped together, the warmth increasing as we summoned every shred of strength we had left. The shadows wailed, a cacophony like nails on a chalkboard, as the radiant figure burst forth. "Let go of the past. This is your moment." A blast of brilliant light erupted from the figure, illuminating the corridor with a blinding flash. I shielded my eyes, but behind the brightness, I felt the shadows shredded, retreating like scared beasts. But just as quickly as the light surged, doubt crept back. What if this was all part of another deception? As the brilliance cleared, I peered around anxiously, searching for the guide, but they had vanished. "Maria?" I called again, fear creeping back into my voice. "Where are you?" For a terrifying moment, there was only silence. I felt something shift within me, a new fear rising in my throat. Was I alone now? It was then I realized the whispers had quieted, replaced by a heavy, unsettling stillness. And then I heard a soft but ominous sound behind me. I turned slowly and froze. The figure, the light, everything vanished, but outlines of shadowy forms were beginning to emerge from the darkness, gathering in the distance, their intent palpable in the air. "What is that?" I muttered, my breath quickening. "Where's the exit?" Maria's panicked voice broke through the tension. As fear curdled in my stomach, a low growl reverberated through the air, and I began to realize this wasn't over. What awaited us in the encroaching darkness? I braced myself against the inevitable, dread pooling heavily in my gut as I prepared for whatever was coming next. The darkness loomed over us, breathing heavily, swarming with shadows that writhed like restless spirits. I felt the cold sweat beating at my temples, fear thickened the air around us like syrup. Maria's eyes darted wildly as the figures began to coalesce into distinct forms, each one a slice of despair, representations of everything we fought so hard to escape. "Stay close," I yelled, my voice trembling. We had to move, no choice now but forward. I felt the pressure of despair at my back, but the flicker of defiance ignited in my chest. "We want to let you in," I shouted, determined to push against the tidal wave of fear washing over us. The whispers rose again, frenzied and accusatory, each word laced with malice. "You'll never escape. You belong to us." The sounds clawed at the edges of my sanity, threatening to pull us down. But then, something shifted within me. A tiny ember of hope sparked as I heard it clearly amidst the madness. "Face it. You are more. Maria." I squeezed her hand, grounding us in a shared resolve. "Remember what the figure said. We are stronger than this." I could see it in her expression, a flicker of understanding penetrating the haze. "Breathe," I instructed, forcing her to meet my gaze. "Channel your strength." Together, we faced the gathering darkness, and I summoned everything I felt: my fears, my strength, my heart wrapped in determination. "This darkness does not define us," I shouted, the words tearing from my throat with a primal scream. "We are not afraid." A warmth surged within me, igniting the air, illuminating the space around us. The shadows hissed, recoiling as we pressed on, fueled by the conviction that we could break free. The whispers twisted into anguished wails, battling against our resolve. "Let us push," I cried out, and we charged forward, a wild force fueled by bravery and belief. Each step pulsed with defiance, scattering the shadows like dark mist. Behind us, the figures morphed, their grotesque forms disintegrating in our light. As we pressed on, a corridor appeared, brightening with every inch we traveled. Faces blurred but familiar, swirling in the light of realization. Each step felt liberating, a testament to our shared strength. "Keep moving," I urged Maria, and she nodded, her grip tightening around mine. Finally, we burst through a set of doors into bright daylight. Sunlight flooded over us, bathing us in warmth and safety. The laughter faded, replaced by the soft chirping of birds, a serene reminder of life outside the darkness. "Did we make it?" Maria's voice trembled, but hope flickered in her eyes, reflecting the beauty of the world around us. "I think we did," I breathed, relief washing over me as I surveyed the familiar landscape of Milford High, awakened from the nightmare, but the ominous shadow of Mr. Grayson hung in the air, a taunting reminder. "This isn't over." His voice echoed, distant yet haunting, as if the darkness itself rooted in the very bricks of the school. "Not if we don't let it be," I replied stubbornly. We faced our fears together. We won to let it define us again. We stood there, absorbing the beautiful chaos of freedom, the sound of laughter, the chatter of students returning carelessly to their day, oblivious to the battle we had fought. As the sun shone brighter, I could have sworn I felt the weight of shadows lift. A sigh mingled with the breeze. In that moment, it was clear whatever darkness awaited, we had the strength of resolve, of courage, with us. We glanced at each other, small smiles creeping onto our faces, the shadows of the past receding further. As we turned to leave, I felt hope bloom anew. We left behind the harrowing echoes of Mr. Grayson, no longer afraid of the darkness, but enriched with the lessons learned. The journey was ours to shape, and whatever came next, we would face it together. Don't let your journey end here. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support really matters. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what just happened. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let us build this amazing community.